It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and all those IRS Radio Hour listeners. This is the blog segment where Attorney Stephen Leahy explains the ongoing...
Saga?
No, I was going to say that.
It's not the saga.
No, it's not the
but
saga.
It is kind of an ongoing thing because I've talked I've talked a lot about 1099A and C on this show, and the reason why is because it's so confusing to people. In my blog segment is IRS 1099A, 1099C. Confused yet?
That's the first thing you talked about on my first show.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've got 99 problems, and a 1099 is one of them. A and C.
You know that one. You don't know the other ones that I was playing. Like,
do you know that reference?
The 1099. Yeah, that's the balloons. Is it?
No.
It's I think it's a Jay-Z song.
Oh, like how am I going to know anything about it?
That's why I'm sitting there. You're laughing, and I'm like, "Why are you laughing? You don't know that reference."
I had a different reference.
He just thinks everything I say is funny.
Yeah, and you had a double entendre. That's all. She didn't know how funny she was being. So
I love it.
I don't know. And I heard of Jay-Z. I'm not really sure who he is, though. I really am not. Doesn't he have something to do with Beyonce?
Let's just go to the blog.
Does he?
Let's just.
I just asked.
They're married. They're husband and wife.
Aha. So they do have something.
They're going to have children.
They are something in common. Okay. But anyway, I talk about this a lot, and I used to do a commercial, 1099A and 1099C. Why? Because what happens is that... That's what my kids always make fun of me on that one because I announce it. I pronounce it so clearly, crisp and clean. Okay. Anyway, here's why I talk a lot about it. Because I get a lot of calls about it, and people have a lot of questions. And I could talk about it all the time on radio. I still get calls from it, and I've got a couple calls this week about it, and that's why I started talking. I wrote the blog post about it this week because. There's lots of questions. So again, now after January, you're getting all these documents, and one of the documents that comes in is a 1099A or C. And what happens is a lot of people just ignore it, and they just hey, whatever, I don't know what it is, so let's just ignore it. And I've had people who had big problems because they ignored it, especially what they call the 1099C, which is cancellation of debt. That C stands for cancellation of debt. The 1099A, the A stands for abandonment. Okay, so that's generally, so let's talk about the A first. Why? Because A comes before C. So we'll talk about the A first. Okay.
Except after E.
Acquisition or abandonment of secured property. This is the form you're going to get if you've been involved in a foreclosure, for instance.
Uh-huh.
They're going to send you this 1099A. And the 1099A it's used for you to do your taxes because you didn't sell the property, but you're supposed to do on your tax return, you're supposed to account for the sale of a piece of property, but you didn't sell it. You lost it to foreclosure. So you use the information on a 1099A in order to prepare your taxes, whether there's a capital gains or a capital loss or how you're going to account for it. And it's really simple because it really depends on what, and I'm being facetious because it isn't really simple because it really depends on what state you're in and what tax bracket you're in and what happened with your home and what did you pay for it. So it gets very complicated, and so it's not something you just put it in your drawer and forget about. Or something that's simple. There's a line on your tax return, and you just put it on there, and you're done. That's not the way it happens. But the next one I'm going to talk about is 1099C, and this really gets when you lose a home to foreclosure, you get the 1099A as I just described to you. But sometimes they'll send you a 1099C. And sometimes also they'll send you a 1099A and a 1099C.
Wow.
And if you have more than one...
that gets really confusing.
I agree. And then sometimes if you have more than one lender, you might get multiple 1099As and multiple 1099Cs. What can I do? Well, the answer is, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute because
I'm jumping ahead here.
Yeah, you are jumping.
But I'm just,
I get
very
it.
confusing.
It is confusing. So 1099C is, the C again stands for cancellation of debt. So what happens when they cancel your debt? So I lost my home to foreclosure. I owed them $300,000. they sold the home for $225,000. Well, there's $75,000 there that they could come after me for in Illinois. Wow. So it's called a recourse loan. So they can sue me and get a judgment against me for $75,000. But oftentimes they won't, because people will just file bankruptcy. And sometimes you're forced into bankruptcy. And sometimes bankruptcy is a good way out. And if you're having this foreclosure problem, you should talk to an attorney before you lose it to foreclosure, because some of your options may disappear at the sale date. So if you have the problem, give us a call, 312-664-6649. But anyway, that's so fast, I know. 312.
Yeah, but there's going to be a commercial in the middle way where you
6649. I know, and that's why I didn't really want to make a commercial about that. But I'm telling you, before you lose your home to foreclosure, call somebody. Again, me or somebody else. Call me. I want you to call me. But let's call somebody else.
We'll do a little question for the people out there. Pause for a second. What is a 1099-C, ladies and gentlemen? Hold it. It's cancellation. Remember that. 1099-C is a cancellation. It's so important to make sure that you keep everything. But now this is what I'm going to get into. Order.
When they cancel your debt, that $75,000 that they say you don't have to pay, if you don't put it on your tax return, the IRS will say you have to pay taxes on that $75,000.
Wow.
And if you're in a 25, let's just say you're in a 20% tax bracket, that's $15,000. That's a lot of money.
Yes,
now, where are you going to come up with $15,000? You just lost your home to foreclosure. Where are you going to come up with $15,000 to pay the IRS?
That's got to be ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I agree it is ridiculous, but that's what the law is. And that's why you can't.
Why would they?
That's what it is. Now, there's ways, there's exclusions and exceptions and all this that you may qualify for that you don't have to pay taxes on.
How do I know I qualify?
You don't know, and it's a case-by-case basis. And that's why, if this is happening to you, get a professional tax preparer. Don't do this yourself. It gets too complicated, and the consequences can be dire. And it's going to cost you a lot more in the future. So when you get a tax preparer, get someone who understands this stuff. Not some of the big box outfits, because they just hire people. And I've had to go off clean up after a lot of these big box outfits because they don't know how to handle it either. Well, so call someone. Call us. You can call us at 312-664-6649, and we'll be happy to do your tax return.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I don't have to say it, 312-664-6649. Why go to a big box outfit when you can stay local? Open Tax Resolution. Just remember that. Also visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. That is going to be your hub to help fight the IRS. Watch previous videos and maybe get your question answered. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned, because after the commercial break, more IRS Radio Hours coming back to you here on AM 560.
The Answer.